Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Overcoming Your Trauma course. Today's topic is about dealing with flashbacks and repressed memories. So, what is a flashback? A flashback are intrusive thoughts that come into your mind. They will often be sensory, such as visual, location, based on the touch or smell of something that you see around you. And these memories will bring you back to the traumatic event that happens. So a flashback is essentially like a flashback point in time to when a traumatic event occurred in your life. Some good examples of this is, let's say there was a specific location that you would often be abused at, perhaps a certain house, even like a public place. And now as an adult, whenever you drive by there, you see that house and a flood of memories just start coming back to you, like almost as if you are actively still there. It's very intense and it can really control a lot of aspects of your life because you will often physically feel, you will may even be able to smell, whatever smell is there. Perhaps there was some sort of trauma associated with that, or you could just visually see stuff that isn't actually happening now. And the unfortunate truth is that when it comes to trauma, you will often have these flashbacks at times that can be very inconvenient, that can be very destructive for your own well-being. It could happen even during work. Your thoughts go somewhere and then you immediately start to think of something and it brings you back. Now, because they are often sensory in nature, again, it could be something that you physically see, such as that physical house. But it could be any number of things. It could be some sort of noise that you hear. And a very good example of this is people who fought in a war and the sound of the gunshots. Let's say a car drives by and the sound of the exhaust, the muffler, makes that same exact sound as a gunshot. And that sound will bring them back, and then they will immediately think that they are back, fighting in the war again, because it was so traumatic for them. They are brought back to that situation. Now, this can vary in various degrees. It could be something that is a thought that goes to their mind. It could be relatively minor, and it could make them depressed. It could make them sad, or it could be so severe that they think that there's an active war going on. So they run from wherever that they are. Maybe they are trying to get ready for some sort of combat or whatever else, as it severely controls their life. There are various degrees of this. But the fact remains, whatever trauma has happened in the past, it is still with you to some degree, even if you don't fully remember it. And these memories are coming back based on some sort of sensory thing that ends up happening in the world now. But these are things that are encapsulated in the past. They're not actively happening now. But instead, the things from the past are encapsulated within your mind, and something triggers those memories to come back. Now, what are repressed memories? These are memories that are deep within your subconscious that are blocked by your ego and conscious mind. So these will often be things that you have completely just blocked out, that you don't want to deal with. And these can be things that you perhaps don't even intentionally mean to block out, that you just put up a wall when you were much younger to protect yourself. And again, this is what the mind does naturally on its own. Especially when you're young, it will put up that wall to be able to protect you, to protect itself. But over time, it starts to unwind and you may not be able to deal with it. So as a result, what ends up happening then is that these repressed memories control aspects of your life. It's also a coping mechanism. As I just mentioned, your mind will use it as a coping mechanism to prevent you from dealing with the problems in the past. It will dissociate you from any sort of negativity that happens and repress those memories so that you can not let them control you, so that you're not depressed and anxious all the time. But the unfortunate truth is, you could very well still be anxious and depressed as a result because it's not perfect. It's going to, when you keep blocking them out and keep repressing them, it's going to continue to build up and you're going to continue to have problems. And it can even lead to false memories. False memories, we're not going to dive too much into that topic, but is essentially a memory that does not exist. It's a memory that perhaps you have very, very clearly, that you can see clearly, that you remember very vividly, that never actually happened. A lot of abusers may intentionally put false memories into their victims' minds to make the abuser look better or to gaslight the person that they're traumatizing. But also, a lot of these repressed memories, things that we don't remember from the past, if we continue to think about them, we could be creating our own memories that are far worse or even far better than what actually happened. And this is where things can get relatively tricky, because if you have repressed memories within you, and in your mind, you want to portray it as, oh, it was great, it was amazing, it was wonderful, when deep down you know that's not the case. You could be trying to form these false memories, trying to create a reality that does not actually exist, to paint over the fact that you have had a traumatic childhood, and you're not actually addressing the root cause of the problems. Or it could be the opposite way, that you're thinking things are much worse than what actually happened. Perhaps it was not as bad as what you're thinking, and that you're making up a lot of this negativity in your mind, just working yourself up for no apparent reason, just making things a lot worse, perhaps making someone out to be much worse than they actually are, because you have these thoughts within your mind that don't actually stem from anything, but that you have created by thinking about things that never actually happened, and that you're trying to uncover these memories. So whatever the case is, the best thing you can do when it comes to these repressed memories is that they will come out naturally on their own. You don't need to be consciously thinking about them, because once you consciously think about something, you're altering that memory. You're changing that memory. And that can work to your advantage, or that can work in such a very negative way that you consider people around you to be a threat when they actually are not, and they're here to help you. Replacing negative memories with positive ones. So that's essentially what we were just mentioning here. So you have to be able to let go of the negative memories. So if you have a lot of negative memories within your mind, perhaps about a specific person, you have to be able to learn to let go of those so that they are not negatively impacting your life anymore. Because if it's negatively impacting your life, you're letting it control you. You're saying that this memory has more control over you than you have control over your own life. And that's a very, very sad thing. You don't want to do that. Rather, you want to associate some positive memories with the situation, with the event. And basically, as I just said, you control, you change the memory the moment you start thinking about it. So if you're thinking about a traumatic memory that happened to you, the moment you begin thinking about it, it controls you. You start feeling a lot of the negative emotions about it. Instead, what you wanted to be able to do is associate something positive with it. No matter how negative the memory is or how bad the situation is, you can associate something positive with it. And we're going to dive deeper into that subject in a little bit, but no matter how negative it is, you can associate something positive with it, whether that be how it has helped you in some sort of way, and, meet certain people, even like perhaps a traumatic event occurred that shaped you in some sort of way, and now you have such amazing friends in your life that you would have never have met if it hadn't been for you dealing with some sort of trauma from your past. Whereas if you never dealt with the trauma, you would have never have met some of these people. So again, it's just about reflecting back, seeing what makes you feel really bad, like those negative emotions, seeing them objectively, and then starting to associate something positive with them. So you also want to be able to create a new memory, like a sensory memory, like a song, for example. So perhaps there's something that ended up happening, some sort of negative event that happening, And maybe you can listen to a song to be able to kind of replace that memory, to have it be more positive, to have it work more in your favor, to bring you some sort of happiness or resolution to that memory, and to create new memories based on, whatever this sensory is. And a good example, as I mentioned, let's say that there is a public place that you were abused at. Let's say it was some sort of store that whenever your parents took you there, it was very negative for you. It was very bad. And you were often abused there. And whenever you drive by that store on the way to work, you feel a deep sense of trauma, that you feel all these flashbacks starting to come back within your mind. And you don't want to look at it. You may even go out of your way to avoid the location, going a longer route to your work. And maybe you don't even want to associate with people who work there and all this sort of stuff. It is that severe. Well, one of the best things you can do as an adult now is actually face that memory by going back into that location and making a new memory there. And maybe when you walk in, if you associate that with some sort of sensory as well, maybe there's something that you really like at the store. It's like, oh, look, I want to purchase this. Maybe this place isn't as bad. Or maybe there's like a nice song that's playing on the radio when you get in the store, like one of your favorite songs, kind of welcoming you in. Whatever the case is, you have to be able to replace those memories and make new ones with the negative ones. So if that is part of your trauma there, then you have to be able to face it and make some new positive, great memory from it. In our next part, we'll be talking about dealing with anxiety and depression.